By now, you probably heard about the ruling in New York saying that Donald Trump is broke and he lied his ass off about how rich he is, or how more to the point, how much his properties are worth. But it's just getting worse for Trump. It's going to get worse for Trump. Hopefully, it gets worse for Trump, because it was Donald Trump's continued threats against prosecutors and judges, and now, not too recently, the former Joint Chiefs of Staff, the outgoing Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, the special counsel, Jack Smith, is requesting that the Judge Chunkin, who's overseeing his case on the January 6th attack, for a gag order against Trump. I wish it could be a literal gag, but just for him to keep silent before then. Now, their argument is, of course, that he's poisoning the jury pool. Unfortunately, Donald Trump's lawyers have come up with the stupidest argument to counteract the request from Jack Smith. Quoting this: following these efforts to poison Donald Trump's defense, the prosecution now asks the court to take the extraordinary step of stripping President Trump's and his First Amendment freedoms during the most important months of his campaign against President Biden. The courts reject this transparent gamesmanship and deny the motion entirely. The proposed gag order is nothing more than an obvious attempt by the Biden administration to unlawfully silence its most prominent political opponent, who is now taking a commanding lead in the polls. I'm not a big city lawyer or a small city lawyer, small town lawyer, or anything else, but I know from a legal fact that if you want to counter the arguments of your opponent, whether you be the prosecution or the defendant or the plaintiff or whatnot, at least you're supposed to show some sort of legality in your arguments. I didn't hear a single bit of legality in in Trump's lawyers' argument for against a gag order against Donald Trump. This was a campaign speech. A campaign speech? No, actually, this is nothing more than the truth from Donald Trump's bullshit social website. A truth posted on Truth Social. This was an illegal argument, and all of it is bullshit. Because President Biden hasn't had a thing to do with the Donald Trump case. Nothing. Not a single thing. And as for First Amendment rights, threats against judges and prosecutors are not covered by the First Amendment. Hell, threats against potential witnesses, I'm talking about General Mark Milley, are not protected under the First Amendment. And yes, unfortunately, Donald Trump has a lead when it comes to the Republican Party's bid to select a presidential candidate. Yes, he is in the lead. When it comes to the presidential race, it's tied with President Biden holding a slight lead. But this is nothing. This is an illegal argument. Judge Chunkin, you need to reject Donald Trump's argument and initiate the gag order against Donald Trump. Because quite honestly and quite frankly, this stupidity needs to stop. If you have to put miles and miles of duct tape in the mouth of Donald Trump, do that. Because this guy is not going to stop. His supporters are not going to stop. We have gotten nothing but threat after 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 threat from Donald Trump. It's got to stop. Now, the legal argument from Jack Smith is a good one. It's the right one. that Donald Trump is putting potential witnesses in danger and poisoning the jury pool if and when this goes to trial. And again, I say this before, and I'm going to say it again. If I'm Donald Trump, I'm firing every single one of my lawyers, because this wasn't a legal argument. This was nothing more than a political statement. The same kind of political statement that Donald Trump's going to make again in Michigan while the GOP debates tonight, which is going to be full of shit. I'm not going to watch it because it's a bunch of bullshit. I didn't watch it. So, for me, honestly, me personally, and Judge Chunkin, I hope somehow you get to watch this. You have got to stop this insanity. Donald Trump needs to be gagged. Not only legally, not only metaphorically, but literally gag the son of a bitch. Because if you don't gag him, you're saying to Donald Trump, and you're saying to his, and more to the point, you're saying to his followers that everything that he's done, every threat that he and his supporters have said is okay, legally. They want to threaten jurors, just as Donald Trump and his people did it to the jury who actually handed down the indictments in Georgia. You're saying if you don't gag him, you're saying that all those threats against every one of them are okay. Under the law, that's fine. You want to threaten to kill jurors, potential jurors? Fine, it's okay. You want to threaten to kill about the outgoing Joint Chiefs of Staff's chairman? That's okay. Do so. It doesn't matter. That is what you are saying to these people. Judge Chunkin, rule in favor of the government. And if Donald Trump violates the gag order, then we have enough evidence right then and there to have his ass arrested. Because quite honestly, he's not going to last 24 hours. Hell, I don't think he's going to last 30 seconds before he violates that order. Quite honestly, Judge Chunkin, the fate of this country is in your hands now. Because if you rule in favor of Donald Trump, you're ruling in favor of terrorism by the MAGA. Rule wisely, not just for our sake or the sake of the country's, but for your sake as well. Because don't make any mistake about it. Donald Trump and his people, they're putting you in their gun sights. They want you dead. Just by being a judge in this case. They want you dead. Don't let them do it. Don't let them win. CTP, know the truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.